Hey everybody, it's Bailey, Director of Innovation at Intelligentsia. I'm going to go over some tips for blooming pour-overs. On this first pour-over, we're doing a distribution of the coffee dose by shaking the dripper. And then we're going to do only 2 times the weight of the dose for the bloom. And the pouring here is kind of okay. It does start down the middle and then finishes with a circle. It's a little bit rushed. But we're going to let this rest and then promptly pull it out of the dripper and dissect the bed to see, do we have any dry grounds in here? So what I'm trying to illustrate here is that by shaking the dripper, we add a little bit more resistance to the bed for our water stream to penetrate from the kettle, and it ends up being kind of difficult to absorb water into the core of the bed, and you can see the dry pocket there. Here we're going to switch from shaking the dripper to using a wet wipes distribution tool to rake the surface and leave the rest of the bed fairly fluffy, and still doing 2 times the weight of the dose and pouring fairly well again down the center, finishing in circles. With this one, what we can see is that by leaving the bed more fluffy, it is a lot easier for the stream to penetrate into the core of the bed, and all of the coffee is actually wet. It's not quite swimming in water though. There's not a whole lot of interstitial coffee. On this one, we're going to illustrate the wet wipes distribution tool, raking the top, still 2 times the dose, but what I would call a bad pour. This is pretty much only circles around the top and not really pouring down the center at all. There's just that one quick 2 grams at the end just to make sure there's enough water in there. But here, without having that stream going and digging down into the dripper, the stream just isn't able to dig down. So in this one, we're actually going to see the most amount of dry coffee as a result of the stream largely being absorbed by the surface from the circles and not having water continuously digging down in the same spot to the core. So tons of dry coffee here. This is going to result in a broad extraction gradient. So this is what I would suggest: raking the dose with the WDT tool, doing 3 times the weight of the dose, and then pouring what I would consider a good style pour, which is down the middle for 1 equal weight of the dose, around in a circle for another 20 grams, and then down the center again for the last. So 3 parts: center, circle, center. One of the first things you'll notice when we take this filter out is how much water is kind of pouring all over the place. One, we're still kind of early in the bloom. This would be a pretty fast bloom if we were to stop here at 30 seconds and keep going. So more of that will flow through if we were to go to like a minute. The other is that it's okay. Like, we don't need this water to do the extraction. I'd rather ensure a thorough saturation. And here you can see a lot more brew coffee interstitially among the coffee grounds for a much better saturation. So I wouldn't consider this wasteful. All right, I hope you take this and go explore a little bit more, try blooming a couple different ways. I hope this helps you to enjoy more of your coffee more consistently. Thanks.